There is presently not enough antimatter to return to the Earth's solar system.
Ill with him cooking it anyways. He's probably running experiments.
Let it go. Every morning you guys do this.
Edward
is dead.
Generation unit is venting O2.
Take it really easy, Captain.
In 2065, after nurturing diverse life forms for billions of years, the Earth is destroyed by a nuclear bomb, which wipes out most of humanity and reshapes their history. Desperate to secure a future, the very few people who survived the horrific incident get aboard scout ships and start brutal exploratory journeys to different corners of the universe, hoping to secure a new home for their kind. 7 years later, a group of people aboard a scout ship called Pegasus continues traveling through space towards a planet, planning to test its systems and atmosphere and search for any trace of water. If all their wishes and dreams come true and the planet proves to support life, they hope to inform the other ships scattered across the universe that are carrying out similar missions and make the planet their new home. One day, the crew works together to fix and maintain the ship while teasing one another.
Besides which, we're supposed to only send expendable members of crew outside?
Co-pilot are taking the next 2 piloting shifts, is that right?
Later, a young girl named Lila spends time with the ship's engineer, Pete, who's become like a father to her, and while he's working, she asks him questions about what Earth was like. Despite being busy, seeing Lila's utter fascination with the subject, Pete gives her a detailed response.
Miles and miles, and you can explore it with all the fishes.
On the other side of the ship, Lila's guardian and aunt, Nurse Haley, searches for Lila to teach her the lessons of the day. Meanwhile, seeing Haley's distraction, a crew member named Jerry breaks into the locked controlled medicine box and administers a shot of painkiller. Then the captain and Edwards approach Pete, and after telling him that the oxygeneration unit on one of the decks is malfunctioning, ask him to repair it.
Pete, I know you have a lot to do right now, but Edward's right.
Edward's right.
Meanwhile, on the bridge, operators Mike and Jane receive a signal and try their best to find out its source.
Test signal to units A through F.
How was your walk outside?
Unaware of the recent developments, the captain continues discussing the ship's status with Pete and is shocked to learn that Pegasus doesn't have enough antimatter to make the journey back home.
It's gotta be important.
Then after the captain is informed of the arrival of the encrypted message from Utah, hoping to protect the crew at whatever the cost, he warns Pete to never disclose his discoveries to the rest of the crew and heads to the bridge. The next day, while enjoying a meal together, the crew discusses the fact that Pegasus was not designed for such a long journey, and each shares their concern about the rest of their expedition. Soon, hoping to lighten the mood and make themselves feel better, the crew changes the subject, and everyone starts teasing one another and enjoying each other's company until Jerry silences them.
Planet they were targeting came back negative, so they've started their final run back to the...
That night, while preparing her for bed, Haley tells Lila about her parents.
They were the best kind of parents you could have because they loved you very much.
Why did they leave me?
In the morning, the captain calls for a meeting to inform the crew that they will be reaching the target planet system the next day, and Edwards reminds them that they need to do the necessary testing to find out whether the planet has a suitable atmosphere and determine its ability to support human life. Later, Haley checks on Jerry, who is in extreme pain, and tries to help him.
No. Hey, anyway, thanks. I'm sorry about the depressing thought.
Later, depressed and drunk, Edward goes to the bridge and picks a fight with Mike, who loses his temper, and as the two start rustling each other, Mike's stunned out of his mind to get a code orange alert, signaling that there's another ship close by. Utterly shocked, Mike rechecks the message, sees a stationary ship, and frantically informs the captain, who immediately rushes to the bridge to learn more about the situation. Once there, the captain orders Pegasus to identify the ship, and the trio is confused to learn that even though the ship has no identification probe, the model is identical to theirs and is of Chinese origin. Confused as to why the ship has stopped its journey so close to the target planet, Mike and Edwards start speculating different scenarios until the captain orders Mike to resume their journey so that they can get closer to the ship and get a better look, while he orders Edward to gather everyone for a meeting. At the meeting, the captain updates everyone with the recent discovery, but soon an argument ensues as each of the crew comes up with a different idea about how to proceed.
Whatever happened on that ship to stop them, it could happen to us! I see no good in treading a dead man.
A few hours later, Pegasus informs the captain that all of its numerous attempts to hail the mysterious ship and connect with its AI system have failed unusually, and hence, there's no way to assess what's going on aboard. Despite this discouraging news, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery and hoping to find some spare supplies for his own ship, the captain proceeds to go ahead with the exploration, and Pegasus prepares to dock.
Through the airlock, we're on the Chinese ship, seal the hatch.
Then Pete, Mike, and the captain prepare to head to the mysterious ship.
We're at the airlock. We're ready.
Copy that.
After walking around the mysterious dark ship for a few minutes, the trio is confused to realize that there's nothing except rotten food and wonder what happened to the crew that once occupied it. The captain then manages to turn on the Chinese AI system of the ship. Hoping to learn more about the ship and how it got there, Mike decides to upload all of its travel logs and documents to Pegasus so that Haley, who can speak Chinese, can translate them for them, while Pete heads to engineering to search for anything salvageable they can take back with them. However, a few minutes later, a terrified Pete runs back to join the duo.
Someone else is on this ship.
Meanwhile, Pegasus informs Haley, Jane, and Edwards that it has managed to connect to the mysterious ship's artificial intelligence named the Dragon, but that most of its systems are still offline, and shares that the captain has ordered radio silence until they find out what's going on the Dragon. The trio carries the young boy and proceeds to head back to the Pegasus, but find that the airlock has been locked and ask Jane to unlock it. After checking with Pegasus, Jane is confused to learn that the system has to be manually overridden and tries to find out the cause for the unusual maneuver.
We don't want whatever happened over there happening here. You're just gonna have to stay there and...
As Edward continues detailing the risks of opening the airlock and scolds the trio for their irresponsibility, an annoyed Haley hits him from behind and knocks him out. Then, Jane activates the manual override to unlock the airlock, and the captain makes it back to the Pegasus with the little boy. The captain takes the unconscious boy to the medical bay so that Haley can examine him. Seeing this, Jerry goes out of his mind and scolds the captain for endangering the mission by bringing over the young boy without knowing exactly what happened on the Dragon. Moments later, before the men can come to an agreement, Pete informs the captain that there's no antimatter on the Dragon that they can take for their trip back. Dismayed by the news, the captain hides his fear and calmly orders Pete and Mike to strip the Dragon, bring back all the supplies they can as soon as possible so that they can resume their journey. Pete and Mike do so, and as they leave the Dragon, Pete forgets his pad and returns to get it, while Mike continues on his way and makes it onto the Pegasus. A couple of minutes later, as Pete tries to leave the Dragon, which is expected to explode in a few minutes, he's confused to find the airlock has been locked and asks Jane to open it. To make matters worse, Jane soon finds out that she's unable to do so and asks Pegasus who had sealed the airlock.
When he gets across, how do we let him back in?
As absolute chaos ensues, the captain and the crew frantically try to help Pete, who's terrified out of his mind.
Check on Edward, make sure he's still unconscious, and make sure that Haley has the boy.
Then, to make matters worse, the Pegasus reports that the Dragon's antimatter is destabilizing and warns that they are in the predicted explosion zone. As ordered by the captain, Pete runs to the escape pod as fast as he can, but is soon shocked out of his mind to learn that there isn't one.
Warning, Pegasus is within predicted blast radius.
Quickly releasing his fate and making peace with it, Pete contacts Pegasus to inform them of the situation. While the crew remains frozen in sheer shock and devastation, Pete, who has only 2 minutes to live, starts sharing technical details of Pegasus so that they can manage to repair it without him. Then, the devastated crew each thank him for his help and apologize to him for not finding a way to help him before an emotional Lila starts begging him to come back. With his heart breaking, Pete calmly explains the situation to the young girl, tells her how much he loves her, and bids her an emotional farewell. Seconds later, before the captain can even process everything, Jerry screams at him, blaming him for everything that happened, and storms out. Too drained to defend himself, the captain orders Jane and Mike to get the ship back on track to their destination planet, while Haley takes Lila to her room to comfort her from her grief.
Replaying log 8470.
Alright, I'm removing the last screw now.
Then Haley returns to the medical bay to check on Edward, who has just woken up. Once she makes sure he's okay, Haley shares everything that had transpired while he was knocked out with Edward, who's terrified out of his mind to hear of Pete's death. Moments later, as the duo discusses this, the young boy wakes up screaming at the top of his lungs.
English. Call the captain.
Relieved to see the situation is under control, the captain orders Haley to talk to him and find out what happened to his ship. That night at dinner, seeing how devastated Lila is, the young boy comforts her and introduces himself as Jay. After putting both children to bed, Haley meets with the captain and informs him that, despite her best efforts to comfort Jay and get him to open up, he's too traumatized to share what happened to his parents or the crew on the ship. Then the captain shares that just as Pete had suspected, the crew on the Dragon had used up all their supplies on their journey to the target planet, without saving anything for the journey back. The duo is then then shocked to learn that the escape pod was launched 6 months ago, indicating that the boy had been left alone to fend for himself in the vast nothingness for that long. To make matters more strange, the duo learns that at that time, the airlock had been opened numerous times with no records of any ships docking, and surmise that the boy might have tried to kill himself but failed to get through with it. A few minutes later, this discussion is interrupted by Pegasus, who informs the captain that they have approached the target planet and asked for his permission to release the testing probe, and he approves.
The probe was sent out a couple of hours before their escape pod was launched.
Later, Edward and Mike excitedly inform the captain of their discovery that 2 habitable planets exist side by side in the same system, evading detection, and that the Pegasus has found a Chinese probe released months earlier on one of them. Edward further explains that they will be able to gather more information from the Chinese probe in a couple of days. Excited by the unprecedented news that doubles their chances of finding a habitable planet and securing a future for humanity, the men quietly celebrate and hold their breath in anticipation and desperate hope to find good results.
But if my calculations are right, then in a couple of days,
You get 2 rolls of the dice, gentlemen.
That night, while everyone turns in for the night, a sleepless Edward goes to the bridge to see Mike, who's on duty, and offers him a drink. After drinking in quiet nervousness of what's to come, Edward passes out only to wake up a few hours later and get the shock of his life. Terrified, Edward screams at the top of his lungs for help. Hearing this, the rest of the crew rush to his side and are horrified to see what has happened.
What the hell did you do to him? What are you talking about? What's in a movie?
Everyone suddenly wonders where the children are and scatters to search for them while Jane cries over Mike's lifeless body. The crew continues searching for Jay and finds him in engineering. While everyone freaks out, Haley calmly asks him about the horrific event, but he profusely denies being involved in the murder, which nobody believes. Moments later, to Haley's utter relief, Lila shows up there, and once they make sure she's okay, they ask her about Jay. Confused by everyone's panic, Lila explains that she was playing a game with Jay, but he had disappeared for a while, and she couldn't find him until just then. Hearing this, and now certain that Jay is the killer, Jerry freaks out and announces that everyone must watch out for the young boy whom they know nothing about and storms out in anger.
Anyone is liable to get his throat cut.
While the rest rush to check on the Pegasus system and make sure it's running properly. The next morning, Pegasus wakes the captain up and informs him that Edward had repaired its mainframe, but most of its internal sensors are still offline. Then as the captain goes around inspecting the ship, he finds a panel door ripped out and informs Jane, who immediately starts repairing it. However, moments later, Jane is shocked to her core to hear the Pegasus report that all the crew members, including the 2 survivors from the Dragon, are accounted for. Bewildered by this, Jane rushes to check on the captain and finds a strange man attempting to attack him. She reacts quickly, shoots, and kills the strange man. Then, as the relieved captain thanks her, she tells him that before everything went sideways, the Dragon's internal sensors were corrupted as well, which alarms him. While Jane rushes back to fix the internal sensors, with the help of Jerry, the captain carries the dead attacker to the medical bay, orders Haley to bring Jay there to identify the man, and asks him about him. After seeing the dead man, Jay narrates that he was the man who had hunted his crew down and killed them off one by one. Despite knowing that Jay is now the last remaining survivor of Dragon, the captain orders Haley to tie him and goes to speak to Edward, who has updates from the probe test. The captain then calls a meeting to discuss the results of the probe, which unfortunately came back inconclusive.
What are the chances of survival if we reduce... I don't see it's fair that he's breathing our air.
As the arguments get heated, the captain silences everyone and orders them to prepare for entry into the planet. As everyone heads out to do so, Jane gives her professional opinion to the captain that if they do land, they might not make it off the ground again. Later, as Jane makes the necessary preparation for landing, Pegasus suggests they should wait and run a landing simulation, but the captain discards this advice and, together with Jane, starts the landing procedure.
Warning, external temperature rising. Adjust.
Once they land safely, Jane and Edward volunteer to get off the ship and test the new planet's atmosphere and prepare to head out.
You guys are doing what few others have ever done before.
Something profound. What?
Jane and Edward return to the ship, and as they settle back in, Pegasus announces that everyone's showing signs of fatigue and suggests they should sleep for a few hours while it runs diagnostic on the ship and prepares for liftoff.
Captain, the nitrogen could leak into the remaining oxygen supply.
A few hours later, as the crew proceeds to take off, Pegasus informs them that one of the engines is rapidly losing power, along with a nitrogen leak in engineering. Alarmed, the captain orders Edward to patch up the leak while he and Jane try to find a solution for the engines in the bridge. Edward rushes off to engineering to seal the nitrogen leak and runs into Jerry.
Tape. Any kind of metallic tape.
Then Jerry follows Edward, who has found his murder weapon, and after waiting for him to successfully seal the leak, he stabs him to death. Meanwhile, on the bridge, the captain and Jane try their best to stabilize the ship. Moments later, Jerry arrives and, as if he's not responsible, solemnly informs the duo of Edward's death and blames Jay for it.
Edward is dead.
Risk of radiation contamination.
Furious, the captain rushes to find Jay, but is surprised to find him tied up in the medical bay. Suspicious, he then searches for Jerry and finds him on the other side of the ship, holding Haley hostage. As soon as he sees the captain, Jerry demands that he authorize the use of their last antimatter to go to the second planet, instead of sending a fleet back to Earth. Despite being shocked by the turn of events, Haley tells the captain to save the kids, and he rushes off to the medical bay to find them. He then puts them both in the escape pod and launches it to the second planet.
Attention, the evacuation escape pod has launched successfully.
Meanwhile, Jerry takes the tied-up Haley to the bridge, where, after some altercation, he brutally kills Jane. He then plays some recordings from the Dragon's logs, translates and tells Haley that the captain of the Dragon had taken the escape pod to check on their malfunctioning probe, which had been sent to the second planet while his crew waited for his signal and ran out of fuel. He adds that during their wait, one of the crew members had gone insane out of desperation and had killed everyone except Jay. Then the captain quietly sneaks up on Jerry and, after a fight, shoots him.
Hull breach, venting atmosphere.
Elsewhere, Jay and Lila get to the second planet, which is habitable and covered with beautiful flora. Jay reunites with his father, who was the captain of the Dragon. On Pegasus, Haley learns that the second planet is habitable and uses the last of their power to send a fleet to people everywhere so that they can travel to the habitable planet and humanity can continue. Pegasus then informs the captain and Haley that they have no chance of survival.
Congratulations, Captain. You have completed your mission.
But congratulates the captain on completing the brutal mission and ensuring the future of humanity.